You're watching E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to discuss MechaGodzilla and why I think he may be in this trailer in disguise. Now, I briefly spoke about this on the stream, and during my breakdown, I mentioned my reasons, and when I put it up, there's a lot of people that are completely against this. Not only in the video, but even in my conversations on like the Nation Facebook page and with other people. Of course, there are people who think this may be the case as well. So in this video, I want to present my reasoning and my potential evidence as to why I think that MechaGodzilla is in this movie disguised, if not for anything but a brief period of time. Now, before I get into it, I also want to quickly address some of the arguments going against it. One of the most common ones I'm hearing is that Godzilla is under some sort of mind control. Now, I can understand this. If you go back to a lot of the movies, Godzilla's been under control before. Completely makes sense. But in this monsterverse, not really. I mean, even the last movie, King of the Monsters, the orca seemed to really have no effect on him. Could Apex have an orca at their disposal? Sure, why not? And I am aware that there was another one that probably existed. But with that said, even if Apex had one, I feel very strongly that it would be able to control Godzilla. I don't think Godzilla is capable of being mind controlled in this monsterverse, at least as of yet. Here's the interesting thing. Going back real quick to the whole Apex mind controlling Godzilla. Well, if you mind control Godzilla, what do you need MechaGodzilla for? If you're in charge of the Apex Predator, if you have control of the Prime Titan, why would you waste resources on building a robot version of him? It just doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. Now, if it was MechaGodzilla, because I've heard this one too, MechaGodzilla actually controlling or having some sort of effect mentally on Godzilla, well, if you built that into the program, if you built that into MechaGodzilla, once again, why not just go straight to the source, and why waste all the resources and money it would take to build one? Just some things that I want to talk about. Now, the other thing I want to mention is a lot of people don't like this idea simply because they think that if it is him in disguise, that they're being fooled. Oh, well, then why would Kong would be fighting MechaGodzilla the whole movie, and we don't want that? Well, slow down. Remember, this is a 2-minute trailer, and I never said anything about him fighting MechaGodzilla the whole movie. In fact, with some of the evidence I'm about to present to you, I'm going to show you that Godzilla is in this trailer. I mean, of course, many of you believe he's in the whole trailer. I believe otherwise. I believe that there's certain aspects of him that are in the trailer, and there's certain aspects that are actually MechaGodzilla disguised as him. The final question is, there's no way they would be able to make anything that could cover MechaGodzilla. Well, I'll let Arnie tell you.
I'm a cybernetic organism, living tissue over a metal endoskeleton.
Now I know what you're gonna say. That's the Terminator. He's a human-sized piece of cake. How would you be able to build something that big or have something that big covering MechaGodzilla? The same way you built him. If you can build a robot cyborg that big, how far-fetched is it that you could actually build or have something that could cover him? And this is where my argument comes in with King Ghidorah. One of the common theories and leaks is centered around King Ghidorah either being inserted into MechaGodzilla in some aspects so he can have his own actions. He's not necessarily remote controlled. I don't necessarily disagree with this. In fact, a lot of people think that's going to happen. And again, I don't disagree with it. But there is something about King Ghidorah that is very special outside of the fact that his head may have some use to have MechaGodzilla actually be active. His regenerative ability. Now, listen, I know a lot of you saying, oh, this is crazy, this is stupid, this is not grounded, it's unrealistic. Well, let's be honest. They shit the bed with reality in King of the Monsters. So the idea that MechaGodzilla could be disguised is not as far-fetched as you might think when you consider the tangibles that have been set up going into this movie, and when you consider that, well, putting some sort of tissue over a robot has been done before, and nobody ever questioned that. And if you're going to question the idea of doing that over a monster this big, well, then you got to question the idea of building it in the first place. Now, look, I've been a big advocate against MechaGodzilla in the Monsterverse. If you've been here for a long time, and some of you know, and I hope those of you who know and were present when I was making these videos and these live streams, at least mention this in the comments to vouch for me. I am and was completely against MechaGodzilla being in the Monsterverse because of the fact that it very well takes it into a whole nother level of non-reality. King of the Monsters was one thing, but a giant robot Godzilla is another, and I thought the idea has always been ridiculous. So let me tell you, when I make this theory, I'm not proud of the fact that I'm defending this. You know what I mean? I'm really not. But I also take a great interest in Easter eggs. I take a great interest in speculation, and most of all, I take a great interest in having fun. And really, that's what this comes down to. It's a lot of fun. Will my theory be right? Probably not. But if there's a chance it is, I want it on record. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of the pictures and some other, I think, somewhat important evidence. But remember, just because this may very well be MechaGodzilla in disguise, I sincerely believe, in fact, I should say that if it is, the only time Kong fights him is in that scene on the aircraft carrier. I think that will be the only time he faces MechaGodzilla, and my theory is that it is a way to set up the rivalry between Godzilla and Kong. All right, in this first image, I want you to take a close look at this picture here. This is Godzilla, or what I believe to be MechaGodzilla in disguise. There's a couple of things here I want to point out before I compare it to the other picture I want to show. Look at the color of the breath. Look at the dorsal plate's color. Look at the outer glow of the atomic breath here. Okay, I want you to take note of that, and we'll get back to this picture because I have to compare it to two other pictures, which I believe are the real Godzilla. But also take note of the size of the arms. Now, this is questionable. This is one thing I notice about the Monsterverse that's been very inconsistent when it comes to Godzilla. So I will admit that, but I think it's of significance here necessarily on the right arm, or left arm, his left arm, I should say, right arm to us. Look at the hands. Okay, now if you get an opportunity, go to the trailer. If you have it downloaded, kind of scan this back and forth and look at the movement. That'll confirm to you that this is nothing in the background. This is his whole hand. And I want you to just take note of this. Take note of this pose. Take note of the arms. Take note of the breath, the dorsal plates color. Not necessarily the plates themselves, but the color of the dorsal plates. Okay, now here is a picture of what I believe to be Godzilla. Now, notice the dorsal plates are darker in this picture. All right, I'll even put them side by side so you can see. Lighter, darker. Also, look at the arms on the Godzilla to the left. Notice that they're just a little bit smaller. Now, once again, Godzilla's arm size in the Monsterverse varies. It's actually something that's fairly inconsistent throughout the movies, but it is significant in this movie because, well, if they're going with this design, I would believe they're going to be consistent throughout the movie. And there is some inconsistencies here. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, the lighting can have a big effect on what's going on in both these pictures. Okay, that's a good point. Let's take note that both these pictures are in the dark. And let's move on to my other picture that I was referring to. Take a look at this one. This is a shot of Godzilla, or once again, what I believe to be MechaGodzilla, under the water shooting the breath in the air. Well, look at the color, okay? Very similar to the picture we saw just a moment ago. And because I know someone's going to say, well, he's underwater, here is the breath shot, okay, coming out of the water through the ship and into the air as Kong jumps into the water. Okay, now let's look at this picture, this one here, and let's also look at the Godzilla destroying the city side by side, and let's look at the color. Once again, a much lighter variant. And now you have this color in two different shots, one during the day and one at night. This picture, obviously a little bit on the left, a little bit more overcast due to the fact that there's explosions, but we all know that this happened during the day. Now, I want to go to the very ending shot where Kong is jumping at Godzilla with the axe. And we're going to take a look at that next. All right, and here we are. Now, this is where I think the real Godzilla is. Notice the color of the beam. Notice his back. Seems to be the same dark blue, or darker blue, I should say. Interesting also is the fact that the beam, if you look at the beam going across, It looks pretty streamlined. It looks almost like a laser. Well, let's put this side by side with the other picture, the one I started off with. And you can see there is a color difference. You can also see there is a difference in the beam. Now look, these are subtle changes, but they're subtle enough that I think they play some significance, especially considering that in 4 different shots, 2 of what I think is the real Godzilla against 2 that I think are the fake Godzilla, the color variant is pretty evident. Not only is it evident, but like I said, it happens in separate shots. It is not happening in just one shot. So the argument that it could be the light, I don't think that stands. Now, look, of course, we could all argue, well, look, I think it's still the same Godzilla. I think it's Godzilla. Maybe they're just being inconsistent in the CGI. And that's a fair argument. I think my only counter to that would be, I think they had a lot of time to work and pretty much perfect this movie. In fact, everybody's saying just how great the CGI is. I want to go to one of these toys. And this is one right here, okay? Now, this toy doesn't exist anymore. I know that before somebody says it down in the comment section. But it did exist once. And while there are some people who are aware that this toy is not going to, at least as far as we know, based on a leak, not an official word by the creator of the toy. And when I say that, I don't mean Playmates, but the manufacturer themselves. And I want to thank James Sidoti for giving us all this information earlier today as I was doing my research for this video. I want you to look at the back plates here, okay? This is almost like a very light blue. Okay, now this toy has become officially this one right here. The MechaGodzilla Heat Ray Godzilla. The Mega Heat Ray Godzilla was once MechaGodzilla. And, well, look at the dorsal plates. The very top are white. The very bottom are white. Now, the center makes perfect sense. They light up. This is a light-up toy. But we've seen light-up toys of Godzilla before that don't necessarily need the dorsal plates to be white or a very light blue like they are on the bottom and the top. Them being clear, absolutely. Absolutely, they would have to be clear. But I just want you to focus on the very top and the very bottom of this doll. Another thing I want to point out is this picture right here of MechaGodzilla, the MechaGodzilla toy, which hopefully we'll get to see very soon. And, you know, those arms are kind of big and, well, look at the Godzilla arms on the right, much shorter. And think back to the picture I showed you earlier with Godzilla, the real one, I think that is, versus the fake one. The fake one arms are very, very large. Finally, I wanted to take this picture of the MechaGodzilla toy, kind of zoom in a little bit. It's a little bit fuzzy, but I just want to take this and put it next to the MechaGodzilla disguise and just kind of take a look. Now, I know many people are going to mention the claws. Well, remember, this is a robot. And, well, MechaGodzilla has always been able to kind of rotate his wrist and shoot missiles from it. So who's to say that the claws can't retract? Close them, retract them. I don't think that's anywhere near out of the realm of possibility. In fact, I'm actually very interested to see what he can do with his claws. Anyway, during my research, as I finalize this, during my research for this, some of this, and look, I know some people are going to say, well, these are the toys, they're not accurate, and absolutely right. But unfortunately, it's the only thing I have right now to use as some sort of evidence for my theory. So just bear with me on that regard. But I am well aware that the toys are not going to be accurate to the movie. They never are. But again, I had to present something for my theory for now. Now, one thing I also wanted to kind of present here, just a couple of little Easter eggs that I've revisited from King of the Monsters. Here's something that was said during the end credit scenes when we look at the clips. Now, this is obviously not complete because a lot of them get cut off, but this right here, everybody remembers this. De La Rosa went on to claim that Monarch was not only developing this mechanized giant on Skull Island, but they had already tried to create organic titans in the past, and that they are the cause of several of the recent Titan incidents. De La Rosa, he is part, talking about De La Rosa, of a group that believes that, and then it gets cut off. So this is obviously them referring to a reporter who has a theory about Monarch. And I think the only thing wrong about his theory is that it's Monarch. When you look at this old article from King of the Monsters, and then you take into the fact that Apex is Apex Cybernetics, they obviously deal with robotics as well as actual human, or not human, but actual organic material. This to me spells a lot of evidence to lean that somehow there's a possibility that Ghidorah's use is not only going to be for his brain or his head, but perhaps some way to harness that ability to regenerate. That way, if they do put some sort of skin over MechaGodzilla and it takes some significant damage, it can regrow, kind of keep their secret concealed. Really think about how they set up this world. Really think about how they've established Godzilla. Godzilla suddenly flipping a switch and turning on humanity for no reason, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. In fact, look, I'm a big advocate for a mean Godzilla. I've been wanting a rated R Godzilla for the longest time. I'm talking about a Godzilla that rampages through the city and you see people falling from the building and he actually kind of hunches down and starts eating people. If you've been on the channel for a long time, I've been a big fan of that kind of idea. So Godzilla wrecking cities in this movie and doing all that kind of stuff, I'm all for it. What I'm arguing is the lore that has been established in this monsterverse. It doesn't add up. When you think about everything that's been established leading to this movie, Godzilla's suddenly flipping a switch and attacking humanity doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. And when you add into the fact my earlier argument that the whole idea of him being mind controlled, while it happened many times in the older movies, he seems to be immune to that kind of thing in this. So, like I said, the Orca had no control over him. And yes, you can argue that maybe Apex developed something that could actually do it, but then that goes to my other argument, then why build a MechaGodzilla? Apex is Apex Cybernetics, okay? Apex Cybernetics. Definition of cybernetics: the science of communication and automatic control systems in both machines and living things. Well, hey, we know MechaGodzilla is not a living thing per se, but Ghidorah was. And like you said, and like many of you said, I'm not against the idea of Ghidorah being the effect on MechaGodzilla in terms of him having his own autonomous actions. But I also think they would stop. I also don't think they would stop there. He has regenerative abilities. So the idea of using that regeneration to somehow harness it, place it on MechaGodzilla, and then have it stretch along his body. I know your argument's like, well, then he looked like King Ghidorah. Well, I mean, we could keep going down this rabbit hole, but I think you know what I'm saying when I say the regenerative ability. Now, there is the hologram theory. I'm not completely against this. I'm not completely for it, but that would kind of explain how it looks. But I don't think it's even the hologram. I think it is taking King Ghidorah's ability to regenerate and harnessing it in such a way that they could actually put it along the body of MechaGodzilla and then do some sort of skin grafting where they can actually change what it looks like. When you consider a giant cybernetic robot and you consider what they're going to use Ghidorah's head for, is the idea of grafting the skin to look like Godzilla crazy? Think about everything we've seen going up to this movie. And finally, the technology. The technology in these movies has grown significantly from movie to movie. First movie, you had normal military and things like that. King of the Monsters, suddenly we have a huge jet. You know what I mean? Now in this movie, we have heaves, ships that can actually go into the hollow earth. They're anti-gravity ships. All right, this is the description. That's the official description of these heave ships. Anti-gravity. Think about that. When you think about anti-gravity, even in the real world, most of the times you hear that related with potential alien technology. So suddenly they have access to this kind of technology in the Monsterverse. So if they have this kind of access to this kind of technology, why are we writing off the possibility that MechaGodzilla could actually be disguised? If anything, they would have to power creep the technology in this movie just to explain that. And I think that's exactly what they're doing. Now, again, this is all in fun and all that stuff. So I, once again, have been against MechaGodzilla being in here. But you want to know something? They've done it. So why would they stop at disguising him? Now, look, I know MechaGodzilla hasn't always been disguised. In fact, he's only ever been disguised in one movie. So it's not like they have to disguise him. It's not like it's a big deal. But I do think that is an interesting factor we shouldn't just throw away. A lot of the arguments I'm seeing just don't make a whole hell of a lot of sense when it comes to Godzilla. Mind controlled, I don't think he could be mind controlled. And if he could, there's no point in Apex even building a MechaGodzilla. MechaGodzilla having some sort of effect on him, even mind control himself. Well, if that's the case, if that's what you built into MechaGodzilla, why not just keep that aspect and scrap the whole idea of building MechaGodzilla altogether? So I don't, and this is not because I don't want Godzilla to be good. Godzilla's been indifferent in this whole series. He killed thousands of people between King of the Monsters and 2014. Of course, he didn't do it on purpose, and that's the significant difference, but it doesn't make him a hero. He's always been indifferent to humanity. And you want to know something? Another thing I want to point out, look at the first two movies, especially the ending of King of the Monsters. One of the newspaper clippings said, Godzilla keeps Titans in check, defends cities, defends humanity. That's how they view it. The whole sudden switch, right? If we're arguing, well, he's attacking humans because they are disturbing the natural order by building MechaGodzilla. Well, if that's the case, Godzilla's been smart enough to show that he can pinpoint who he wants to go after. This is why I think Godzilla's attacking Apex facilities within this movie, as we saw with the whole, all the newspaper clippings as well as post-it notes that were in the trailer on that one scene. I think he knows that Apex is up to no good, but I don't think it's him attacking everywhere else that is not Apex. That is where I think MechaGodzilla comes in. So I think you're going to see multiple scenes of Godzilla attacking. One scene, he might be attacking a city and killing innocent people, MechaGodzilla. The second time, he might be attacking an Apex facility, but they'll shoot it in such a way that it looks like it's just Godzilla going on a rampage. I mean, think about the opening scene of the movie. It's in a city, and who's wrecking it? MechaGodzilla. So, again, it's a 2-minute trailer. There's so much to learn about the movie, and we're 2 months away. And this has been a fun thing to theorize, and I know it's going to rage some people. Some people just can't control themselves. They hear somebody else's idea, and they just immediately want to dismiss it, and it gets ragey, and that's okay. I actually like that. It's entertaining for me. So I hope, if you want to rage in the comments, by all means do. I do need more content for my Godzilla Fans Gone Wild video. So, but anyway, look, that's it for this video. Now, look, I want to also mention, I know Dman is absolutely against this idea. So Dman, I'm going to call you out on video, because I know if I ask you on Twitter or in private message, you're going to say how busy you are. But if I make it public, you have no way of saying no now. So I challenge you to a debate, a live stream in my turf on my channel. Why? Well, you're the one with inside sources. I don't have any inside sources. So you're kind of at an advantage here, okay? And because of that, you're going to come on my turf and we're going to have a debate. And not only that, I also know that Dman, and you said this in the video, I think the video is still up on his channel, you did know about MechaGodzilla before everybody else did. You openly admitted it, so you got some deets. So actually, this is a very advantageous argument for you. This is a very advantageous debate for you. I'm willing to go against those odds and state my case and debate you and go counter to counter and have a little bit of fun. It's been a while since we've done it together. Anyway, a lot of people have been asking for us to do a collab. So now you don't have a choice. You can't say no, because now it's out in the public. And if you say no, people are going to start shitting all over you. So, yep. All right. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. Regardless of what you believe, I hope you enjoyed it. I did put a lot into this video in terms of research. That's why this video is so late, but I wanted to get it up today. And, I had to take care of my kids. I play substitute teacher during the day when my kids are doing remote learning. So it was very much a stop and go, and then trying to go through the old movies and find stuff. It was just so much fun to do it. So even if I'm absolutely 100% wrong, it was so much fun to do this, and I hope, if nothing else, the video at least entertained you. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching E.T.N. Click here to watch more content. Don't forget to leave a comment. Also, make sure you like and share this video. If you want to know when the next video is up, click the notification bell next to the subscribe button. And most of all, make sure to click that subscribe button for regular content.